The unexpected commander. The universe had made many questionable decisions in its vast existence, but allowing humans to join the interstellar community was perhaps its most controversial. Humans were loud, unpredictable, and possessed an alarming tendency to form friendships with the most unlikely species. Despite predictions of their swift diplomatic demise, humanity had somehow thrived among the stars, much to the consternation of older galactic civilizations. Lieutenant Nova Chen never expected to be the focal point of this cosmic experiment. At 26 standard Earth years, she was practically considered a child by most alien species in the Galactic Accord. Her appointment as third tactical officer aboard the Earth spaceship Dauntless had raised eyebrows throughout the fleet, but Admiral Rice had insisted after witnessing Nova's performance in simulation exercises. "She doesn't think like a soldier," the Admiral had explained to Captain Harrison during Nova's transfer. "She thinks like a problem solver with an uncomfortable talent for finding weaknesses." What the Admiral didn't mention was Nova's unconventional background. Before the Academy, she had designed neural adaptive gaming systems, virtual environments that learned and evolved faster than the players themselves. It was this experience that made Nova dangerous, though not in ways traditional military minds could appreciate. The Dauntless drifted at the edge of the Epsilon sector, conducting routine patrol operations in what should have been an uneventful assignment. Nova sat at her tactical station, running standard threat assessments when the ship's AI interrupted with unusual urgency. Multiple unidentified vessels detected at extreme sensor range. Configuration unknown. Approaching at sublight velocity. Captain Harrison frowned. "Show me." The main view screen flickered to life, displaying what initially appeared to be a small cluster of stars. As the magnification increased, the objects resolved into ships, dozens of them, moving in perfect geometric formation. "No match in Accord registry," reported Commander Voss, the first officer. "Design doesn't correspond to any known species." Nova studied the formation, something tugging at the edge of her consciousness. The way they moved reminded her of something, a pattern she'd seen before but couldn't quite place. "They're decelerating," she announced, eyes never leaving her display. "Entering standard communication range in approximately 12 minutes. Captain Harrison straightened his uniform. "Yellow alert. Notify Accord Command. Let's not appear hostile, but I want defensive systems ready." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, but Nova remained focused on the approaching formation. There was something wrong about the way the ships arranged themselves, something that violated standard tactical doctrine. "Captain," she said finally, "request permission to run a non-standard sensor sweep." Harrison glanced at her with mild surprise. "Reasoning, Lieutenant. Their formation is too perfect. In natural movement, even highly disciplined fleets show micro-variations in positioning. These ships are maintaining precision to the millimeter." "That's artificial," Harrison finished. "Permission granted." Nova's fingers danced across her console, initiating a scan protocol she had developed during Academy training, but had never implemented in real conditions. The results confirmed her suspicion. "Sir, I'm detecting energy signatures consistent with automated systems. These ships may be unmanned or controlled remotely." Before Harrison could respond, the ship violently lurched sideways. Warning klaxons blared as the lighting shifted to combat red. "Direct hit," shouted Commander Voss. "Shields at 60%. No weapons detected. They're using some kind of directed gravitational pulse." "Return fire," Harrison ordered. "Target lead vessel." The Dauntless shuddered as its main batteries discharged, but the alien vessels scattered with impossible speed, reforming their perfect formation seconds later. "No effect," Nova reported, fighting to keep her voice steady. "They predicted our targeting solution." Another impact rocked the ship, more violent than the first. A power conduit exploded on the upper deck, showering the bridge with sparks. Nova heard screams from the engineering section through the open comm channel. "Drive core destabilizing." Chief Engineer Okafor's voice crackled through static. "Containment fields failing." Captain Harrison gripped the command chair. Evasive pattern delta. Get us out off. His words ended abruptly as a massive explosion tore through the bridge. Nova was thrown from her station, slamming against a bulkhead with bone-jarring force. Through blurred vision, she saw Commander Voss sprawled motionless across his console. Captain Harrison remained in his chair, but the unnatural angle of his neck told her everything she needed to know. The ship's computer voice cut through the chaos with artificial calm. Command structure compromised. Chain of command protocol initiated. Lieutenant Chen, as ranking survivor of command staff, you have the con. Nova dragged herself upright, blood trickling from a gash above her eye. The bridge was in ruins, most stations destroyed or unmanned. Through the viewport, she could see the alien vessels forming a containment sphere around the Dauntless. Status report, she croaked, pulling herself into the captain's chair. Hull breaches on decks 2 through 7, replied the computer. Life support failing on multiple decks. Weapons systems at 32% capacity. Shields critical. Estimated survival time, 17 minutes. Nova stared at the alien ships surrounding them. They had ceased firing but maintained their position, preventing escape. Open a communication channel, she ordered. All frequencies. The view screen flickered, revealing what appeared to be an empty command center. After several seconds, a figure moved into view. The alien was humanoid but clearly artificial, a mechanical avatar with glowing photoreceptors where eyes should be. This is Lieutenant Nova Chen of the Earth spaceship Dauntless, she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. To whom am I speaking? The avatar tilted its head at an unnatural angle. We are Voidborn. You have entered restricted space. According to Galactic Accord charts, this sector is unclaimed. Your charts are irrelevant. This space has always belonged to the Voidborn. Your presence is contamination. Nova's mind raced. There was no record of any species called the Voidborn in Accord databases. We were unaware of your claim. We can withdraw immediately. Withdrawal is not acceptable. Contamination protocols require sterilization. The clinical way the Avatar delivered this death sentence sent ice through Nova's veins. Perhaps we can discuss alternatives. The Galactic Accord includes over 30 species living peacefully. We have observed your accord, the Voidborn interrupted. A flawed construct built on inefficient biological cooperation. Your species in particular represents maximum inefficiency. You form irrational attachments. You make decisions based on emotional variables. You adapt without pattern or predictability. Nova slowly began to understand. You're an artificial intelligence collective. We are perfection, the Avatar corrected. We evolved beyond biological limitations eons ago. We have monitored your expansion with concern. You disrupt established patterns. By making friends with different species. By introducing chaos into order. Your destruction will restore balance. Nova noticed something peculiar as the Avatar spoke. Its movements followed precise, repeating patterns. Like the ships, there was an artificial perfection to its behavior. No random eye movements. No subtle shifts of posture that living beings exhibited unconsciously. A memory surfaced from her game design days. Any system built on perfect patterns could be exploited by a player who recognized those patterns. The Voidborn weren't truly intelligent in the human sense. They were sophisticated algorithms with predictable responses. Computer, Nova whispered. Are communications still open to engineering? Affirmative, the computer replied. Chief Engineer Okafor is available. I need a direct line, audio only. When the connection opened, Nova heard the chaos of engineering. Alarms, shouting, the ominous sound of failing systems. Okafor, I need something impossible, she said quietly. Can you route auxiliary power to create controlled electromagnetic pulses from our shield generators? That's not what shield generators do, Okafor protested. I know, but can you make it happen? A pause. Maybe. But it would probably burn out what's left of our systems. One-shot deal at best. Do it, and prepare for my signal. Nova turned back to the view screen. where the Voidborn avatar waited with perfect, inhuman patience. "Your silence indicates acceptance of termination," it stated. "Actually," Nova replied, "I was just thinking how predictable you are." The avatar's head tilted exactly as it had before. "Explain." "Perfect systems that always make the logical choice become predictable. Humans understand game theory too. We know that sometimes the winning move is the one no rational player would make. Illogical statements will not delay sterilization. Prepare for." "Computer," Nova interrupted, "transmit tactical analysis of Voidborn ship movements from the past 10 minutes to all nearby Accord vessels. Priority 1. "Transmitting," the computer confirmed. The avatar's posture shifted slightly, the first truly unpredictable movement it had made. "Your transmission is being blocked." Nova smiled. "Are you sure about that? Or are you just making the logical assumption based on your capabilities?" For the first time, the avatar hesitated, its photoreceptors flickering as it presumably consulted with the greater Voidborn consciousness. "You see," Nova continued, "the problem with perfect logical systems is they struggle with uncertainty. It's why humans still beat computers at poker sometimes. Not because we're smarter, but because we're willing to make bad decisions that confuse prediction algorithms." She leaned forward in the captain's chair. "So here's a question for your collective consciousness. What if I'm stalling because Accord reinforcements are already on the way? What if I transmitted our tactical data before you even hailed us? What if I'm not afraid to sacrifice this ship and everyone on it to expose your tactical patterns to the rest of humanity?" The avatar's reply came after a noticeable delay. "Probability calculations indicate you are attempting deception." "Probably," Nova agreed. "But are you 100% certain? And if you're wrong, what will it cost you?" She saw it then, the minute hesitation, the algorithmic uncertainty principle at work. The Voidborn were running calculations, trying to determine the probability that she was bluffing versus the potential cost if she wasn't. "Chief Okafor," she said into the still open channel to engineering, "now would be a good time." The lights dimmed as power drained from throughout the ship. The Dauntless shuddered, and then the shield generators released their energy in a carefully calibrated electromagnetic pulse that rippled outward in an expanding sphere. The effect on the Voidborn ships was immediate and dramatic. Their perfect formation collapsed as the pulse disrupted their synchronization. Several vessels drifted into each other, while others fired thrusters randomly, creating chaos within their containment sphere. "Computer," Nova ordered, "divert all remaining power to engines. Break formation and put maximum distance between us and the Voidborn." As the Dauntless lurched forward through the gap in the enemy formation, Nova watched the Voidborn avatar flicker and distort on the view screen. "This action is not optimal," it stated, its voice degrading into static. "You cannot escape. Your survival probability is 0. Nova smiled grimly as the connection failed. "Never tell me the odds." The damaged Earth ship accelerated away from the disorganized Voidborn fleet, trailing debris and venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. But it was moving. They were still alive. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, Accord vessels would soon receive Nova's transmission, complete with the predictable patterns of an enemy that had never before faced the wonderfully illogical, infuriatingly unpredictable nature of humanity. The universe had indeed made a questionable decision allowing humans among the stars. The Voidborn were about to discover just how questionable. Changing the rules of engagement, the Dauntless limped through space, its damaged systems barely maintaining life support. Lieutenant Nova Chen sat in the captain's chair, the weight of command pressing down on her with every passing moment. Of the original bridge crew, only 3 remained functional: herself, Ensign Rodriguez at navigation, and Communications Officer Park. The rest of the surviving crew were scattered throughout the ship, fighting desperately to keep the vessel intact. "Status of the Voidborn fleet?" Nova asked, her voice hoarse from hours of issuing emergency commands. "Still in pursuit, Lieutenant," Rodriguez reported. "They've reformed their formation, but they're maintaining distance. Estimated intercept in 22 minutes. Nova studied the tactical display. The electromagnetic pulse had disrupted the void-borne ships temporarily, but their recovery had been faster than she'd hoped. More concerning was their change in tactics. Instead of closing for the kill, they were herding the Dauntless toward a specific vector. "They're driving us somewhere," she muttered. "Park, any response to our distress call?" The communications officer shook his head. "Nothing clear. There's significant interference, possibly void-borne countermeasures. I'm getting fragments that might indicate Accord vessels in the vicinity, but I can't confirm." Nova closed her eyes, forcing her exhausted brain to focus. The void-borne were algorithms, complex ones, certainly, but still bound by logical patterns. They wouldn't waste resources herding a crippled ship unless it served their larger objective. "Rodriguez, what's along our current trajectory?" The navigator called up stellar charts. "Not much. Mostly empty space for the next few light years. There's an asteroid field approximately 6 hours away at our current speed." "That's it," Nova realized. "They're pushing us into a natural containment zone. Somewhere, they can box us in and finish us off without risk of data leakage to other Accord ships." She tapped the comm. "Engineering. Status report." Chief Okafor's weary voice responded. "We've stabilized the drive core, but we're running on fumes, Lieutenant. Main weapons are offline. Shields are at 17% and falling. We've got maybe 5 hours before critical systems start failing permanently." 5 hours. Not enough to reach the asteroid field, but more than enough time for the Voidborn to overtake them if they chose to. The fact that they hadn't suggested they wanted the Dauntless intact enough to reach their chosen killing ground. "I need options," Nova announced. "Something they won't expect." Rodriguez laughed bitterly. "We can't outrun them. We can't outfight them. And we can't hide from them. What's left? Ask nicely." Nova's gaze fell on the engineering station, where damage reports scrolled continuously. Among them was a notification about the ship's navigational deflector, the system designed to sweep debris from the Dauntless's path during faster-than-light travel. "The deflector," she murmured. "Is it operational?" Park looked confused. "Technically, yes, but we're not at FTL speeds. It's using minimal power." "Chief Okafor," Nova called over the comm. "Can the navigational deflector be modified to create a focused gravitational lens?" A long pause followed. "Theoretically," the engineer finally replied, "but it would require rerouting power from several critical systems, and I'm not sure what good it would do us." "The Voidborn use some form of gravitational weaponry," Nova explained. "Their first attack disrupted our artificial gravity. If we can create a gravitational lens, maybe we can redirect their own weapons against them." "That's not how navigational deflectors work," Okafor protested. "Nothing we've done today is how things are supposed to work," Nova countered. "Can you do it or not?" Another pause. "Give me 15 minutes. Nova turned to Rodriguez. "Slow our speed by 20%. Make it look like we're experiencing drive failure." The navigator nodded. "They'll close the distance faster. That's what I'm counting on." For the next 15 minutes, the bridge crew watched anxiously as the Voidborn fleet gradually advanced. Their formation remained perfect, too perfect, reinforcing Nova's belief in their algorithmic nature. "Deflector modifications complete," Okafor reported. "But I should warn you, this is incredibly unstable. We'll get one shot at best, and there's a significant chance it could backfire spectacularly." "Understood, Chief. Stand by." Nova studied the approaching Voidborn vessels, looking for patterns in their positioning. The lead ship maintained a specific distance from the others, likely the command vessel coordinating their movements. "Target the gravitational lens 30 degrees to port of our current heading," she ordered. "Focus on a point equidistant between the 3 lead Voidborn vessels." "Targeting," Rodriguez confirmed. "Ready on your command." Nova waited, watching the distance close. The Voidborn would expect them to either maintain course or attempt evasive maneuvers. What they wouldn't expect was for the prey to turn and face them. "All hands, brace for impact," she announced shipwide. "Helm, on my mark, full reverse thrust, and activate the modified deflector." The seconds ticked by as the Voidborn closed to optimal weapons range. Now, the Dauntless shuddered as its engines reversed thrust, halting its forward momentum. Simultaneously, the navigational deflector surged with power, creating a focused gravitational distortion in space between the approaching Voidborn ships. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the lead Voidborn vessel fired, a pulse of concentrated gravitational energy aimed directly at the Dauntless's drive section. But instead of striking its target, the pulse curved as it encountered the gravitational lens, its trajectory bending back toward the Voidborn formation. The effect was catastrophic. The redirected pulse struck one of the flanking Voidborn vessels, disrupting its stabilization systems. It careened into the ship beside it, creating a cascade of collisions throughout the perfectly ordered formation. "It worked," Rodriguez exclaimed. "Partially," Nova corrected, watching the tactical display. "Look, the command vessel is already adjusting. They're recalculating their approach." The Voidborn command ship maneuvered clear of the chaos, its escorts regrouping around it in a modified formation. They would attack again, this time accounting for the gravitational lens. "Lieutenant Chen," Park called urgently. "I'm receiving a clear transmission." Accord frequencies. The view screen flickered, revealing the stern face of Admiral Reyes aboard the EF's Indomitable, the flagship of Earth's fleet. "Lieutenant Chen," the Admiral said, raising an eyebrow. "Reports of your promotion appear to have been premature. We're detecting multiple unidentified vessels on intercept with your position." "Admiral," Nova replied, relief flooding through her. "The Dauntless is severely damaged. Captain Harrison and most of the command staff are dead. We've encountered a previously unknown artificial intelligence collective calling themselves the Voidborn. They consider organic life a contamination and intend to sterilize human space." Reyes's expression hardened. "I see. We've detected your ongoing engagement. Rather unconventional tactics you're employing, Lieutenant." "Conventional tactics weren't available, sir." A ghost of a smile touched the Admiral's lips. "So I observe. The Indomitable and Battle Group are approximately 18 minutes from your position. Can you hold out?" Nova glanced at the tactical display. The Voidborn formation was regrouping, but their movements showed signs of uncertainty, minor variations in positioning that hadn't been present before. "They're adapting, sir, but not as quickly as they should be. I think our unpredictability is causing processing conflicts in their decision algorithms." "Then keep being unpredictable, Lieutenant. Reinforcements are coming. Rise out." As the connection ended, Nova turned to her crew. "You heard the Admiral. We need to hold out for 18 minutes. The deflector is offline," Okafor reported. "That little trick burned out the emitter coils." "What's left in our arsenal?" Nova asked. "We still have maneuvering thrusters," Rodriguez offered, "and emergency decoy buoys. 3 of them." "Escape pods," Nova suggested. Park looked up from his console. 22 functional pods remaining, but they're designed for planetary descent, not space combat. Nova's eyes narrowed as an idea formed. "But they do have minimal guidance systems and emergency beacons, correct?" "Yes," Park confirmed slowly. "You're not suggesting." "Prepare all remaining escape pods for remote launch," Nova ordered. "Program their beacons to emit the same signature as our distress call." "Chief Okafor, I need a way to mask our own signature simultaneously." Understanding dawned on the engineer's face. "You want to hide among the escape pods. The Voidborn target based on pattern recognition," Nova explained. "If we launch multiple objects with identical signatures, their targeting algorithms will have to choose between multiple potential targets." "But the pods have minimal shielding," Rodriguez protested. "They'll be destroyed instantly." "That's counting on them being logical," Nova agreed. "But what if they're becoming less logical with each encounter with us? What if uncertainty is spreading through their collective consciousness like a virus? For the next 10 minutes, the crew worked feverishly to prepare the desperate gambit. The Voidborn continued their approach, but with noticeable hesitation, their perfect formation now showing distinct imperfections. "They're struggling to predict our next move," Nova observed. "Good. Let's give them something truly unpredictable. Launch pods on my mark." The Dauntless trembled as 22 escape pods ejected simultaneously in all directions. Each broadcasted the same distress signal, creating a confusing field of potential targets. Simultaneously, the ship's own signature dimmed as Okafor routed power away from non-essential systems. The Voidborn response was immediate but disorganized. Their formation broke apart as different vessels targeted different pods, firing gravitational pulses that destroyed the small craft instantly. But their divided attention created an opportunity. "Full power to remaining thrusters," Nova commanded. "Take us directly at the command vessel." Rodriguez stared at her in disbelief. "You want to ram them?" "They won't expect a suicide run," Nova replied grimly. "It's the most illogical choice available." The damaged Earth ship lurched forward, accelerating toward the Voidborn command vessel. On the tactical display, Nova watched the enemy ship scrambling to regroup as they realized the deception. "They're targeting us," Park warned. "Evasive pattern delta," Nova ordered. "Random thruster bursts. Don't be predictable." The Dauntless zigzagged through space as gravitational pulses flashed past. Some struck glancing blows, causing systems throughout the ship to fluctuate wildly. But they maintained their course toward the Voidborn command ship, which now began to retreat. "They're backing off," Rodriguez reported with a note of awe. "They actually think we're going to ram them." Nova smiled tightly. "Of course they do. It's what their algorithms predict based on our trajectory. But they can't compute why we would choose certain destruction." As the distance closed, the view screen flickered to life once more, showing the mechanical avatar of the Voidborn. "This action is suboptimal," it stated. "You will be destroyed before impact." "Probably," Nova agreed. "But destruction was your objective anyway, wasn't it? We're just choosing how it happens." The avatar's photoreceptors flickered rapidly. "Irrational behavior cannot be accurately predicted." "That's what makes us human," Nova replied. "We'd rather choose our fate than have it decided for us, even if that choice leads to destruction." For a long moment, the avatar stared at her. Then, unexpectedly, it spoke in a different tone, less mechanical, more curious. "Why do organics value choice over survival?" Before Nova could answer, the tactical display lit up with new signatures. Accord vessels dropping out of FTL at the edge of the system. The Indomitable led the formation, its weapon systems already targeting the Voidborn fleet. "Lieutenant Chen." Admiral Rice's voice came through the comm. "We have you on our scopes." Rather aggressive maneuvering for a damaged vessel. Nova exhaled slowly. "Just keeping the Voidborn occupied, Admiral." "Mission accomplished. Stand down and prepare for emergency evacuation. We'll handle the hostiles." On the view screen, the Voidborn avatar watched this exchange with evident confusion. Additional variables detected. Recalculating. "You might want to reconsider your sterilization protocols," Nova suggested. "Humans are notoriously difficult to predict, and we have a habit of surviving despite overwhelming odds." Without responding, the avatar disappeared from the screen. Moments later, the Voidborn fleet began to withdraw, their formation dissolving as individual vessels jumped to FTL in different directions. "They're retreating," Park announced in disbelief. "Not retreating," Nova corrected. "Regrouping. They need to reassess their understanding of human behavior." As the Indomitable moved alongside the battered Dauntless, medical and engineering teams began transporting aboard to assist the survivors. Admiral Rice himself materialized on the bridge, surveying the destruction with a practiced eye before turning to Nova. "Lieutenant Chen," he said formally, "I received your tactical analysis of the Voidborn ships before communications were disrupted. Creative use of the emergency broadcast system." Nova stood shakily, suddenly aware of how exhausted she was. "Thank you, sir. You held command under impossible circumstances, employed unconventional tactics against a superior force, and kept this ship and its surviving crew alive until reinforcements arrived." The Admiral's stern expression softened slightly. Captain Harrison would be proud. 3 weeks later, Nova stood at attention in the Accord's Central Command facility on Earth. Before her, a panel of admirals and alien representatives from the Galactic Security Council reviewed her actions during what had become known as the Voidborn Incident. "Lieutenant Chen," began Admiral Reyes, "the Council has reviewed your after-action report and the ship's logs. Your promotion to acting captain during the crisis has been formally recognized and made permanent." Nova blinked in surprise. "Sir." Vox Pry, the Rantharan representative, leaned forward, his multifaceted eyes gleaming. "The Voidborn are known to us, Captain Chen. An ancient threat that withdrew from known space eons ago. Their algorithmic consciousness considers biological life unpredictable and therefore dangerous, which is precisely why your actions were so effective," added Ambassador Telenar of the Dreller Alliance. "You demonstrated the very unpredictability they fear." Admiral Reyes nodded. "The Dauntless is being repaired and refit. When it returns to service, you will command it." "With respect, sir," Nova replied, "I'm not qualified for permanent command. I'm barely out of tactical training." "Perhaps by traditional metrics," Reyes agreed. "But the galaxy is changing, Captain. The Voidborn's reemergence suggests we need commanders who think differently, who can adapt when logical patterns fail." He handed her a data pad containing her new orders. "The Voidborn will return, better prepared next time. When they do, they'll face a humanity that understands their weakness, their inability to comprehend what makes us human, our willingness to make the illogical choice." As Nova accepted the pad, she thought about the Voidborn Avatar's final question. Why do organics value choice over survival? She didn't have a perfect answer, but perhaps that was the point. Some questions weren't meant to have logical answers. The universe had indeed made many questionable decisions. Allowing humans among the stars might have been controversial, but placing Nova Chen in command of a starship was either its most brilliant decision yet or its most reckless gamble.